This is how the video ends, with me spinning out off track on the last lap of the race, allowing the last two cars on the last lap to pass me by. But of course that's getting ahead of ourselves. This is the fourth race in the Mazda RX5 Cup league that I was in recently. And as you can see, even in qualifying, the Ottawa club circuit was giving me all sorts of trouble. The only good thing about the situation was other drivers were having similar problems. Fuck it. The only good thing about this is I'm seeing a lot of death in quali. So maybe, just maybe I'll be able to take advantage of that. Oh, lovely. The top three all sandbagged. After getting off to a distinctly average start for the field and better than average for myself, I made a point just to drive carefully while without losing too much speed, because I was fairly confident that at least some carnage would occur and I wanted to be in position to take advantage of it. Of course, I had no idea just how quickly and how high up the carnage would ensue. Case in point, as this three-car pilot gives me three positions, 1, 2, 3, and leaves the road open ahead of me. Of course, part of the problem was we had sandbaggers behind, including Fulvio here, and I already knew going in I was nowhere near the top pace. So when the faster cars came through, I did not fight them very much at all. Just keep out of the way, keep safe, and keep going. This was, of course, a bit more than some cars could handle. But, although consistency is key in racing, so is actual speed, and I didn't have that. In fact, I was making little minor mistakes all through the race, which allowed the slower cars, including Walter Mia here, to keep pace with me, at least temporarily. Karsten Meyer being another one of the faster cars, I didn't give him much of a fight either as he came on by, although I could have wished that he was, shall we say, a bit prompter about it, so that I wouldn't have to brake so early going into this corner, which I never really felt that I got right at all. I knew I was losing quite a bit of time to the faster cars here, case in point. On the other hand, I was routinely getting a better exit than Walter. And also, other people just kept giving me these little gifts of errors that let me get back by them. Of course, such things were very transitory, as I found myself here in a pack of much faster cars, so I endured the indignity of giving up effectively 3 positions in T1. Of course, this one here was to the person who runs the league, Matthias Maj, or Maz as I've made the mistake of calling him, because for some reason I blend in the Z instead of the J on this name. Anyway, I kept sliding further and further down the field, having peaked out at 4th place due to the errors of my opponents. But my lack of speed kept dragging me back towards Walter Mia and the back markers. That little moment was just a sample of how things were going to go later. And of course it allowed Walter to get right onto my bumper and actually threaten to pass. Fortunately, I was fairly routinely getting a better launch than him out of that corner. Even more fortunately, I kept getting little gifts of that sort, which kept bumping me up in the rankings just enough to where I was actually expecting by midway through the race to have a reasonably good result out of it. But of course, little errors like dipping a tire into the gravel going through that same corner allowed the faster cars to close up, and whenever I knew there were faster cars, I would routinely back out and let them by rather than risk my race trying to hold up somebody who is 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap faster. The middle of the race was fairly lonely as I kept going lap after lap without being challenged by anyone or seeing anyone, but with Iker Maraver, who was pole sitter at the start, gradually but steadily catching up behind me. But because he was far enough behind me, and as the race end kept getting closer and closer, eventually I gave in and I said aloud these very words. I don't think Iker's going to catch up with me so long as I don't bin it. Oh, and I just binned it. Of course I just binned it. Getting trapped like that, of course, gave Iker plenty of time to catch up and pass me, and since he was averaging over 1 second a lap faster than I was, I wouldn't be catching up with him again anytime soon. Position was lost, and so now my focus was to simply hold on to what I had for the remaining 2.5 minutes or so of the race. And of course, there were cars very close behind me, just ready to pounce anytime I made the slightest mistake. Fortunately, over the couple of laps, I did put in some distance between myself and the cars following me, so that as the timer ticked down to 0 and we officially got the last lap notice, I felt confident that I had a safe buffer behind me going into the last lap of the race. And then here's where we started, and here's where the race ends. I'm in the gravel. The other cars are passing me. It's over. Nothing left. Like hell.
諦めんなよ。諦めんなお前。どうしてそこでやめるんだそこで。もう少し頑張ってみろよ。
And that was possibly the closest finish I've ever had to a race. Thanks to a couple of disconnects and other issues, I ended up finishing 8th at the end, which is exactly the same that I finished in the 3rd race of the series, and the 2nd race of the series, and the 1st race of the series. Of course, the race after this one, I finished 5th, which was a good thing because there were only 8 entries to begin with.